What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Career Mode. This is episode number 74, and we start today's episode off with some player training and also a look at our transfer budget after the signing of Anderson in the last episode. So around 11.25 million in our budget right now as we prepare for transfer deadline day. This is our full shortlist. As you can see, the group of players on here. There are a few players we could poach away on pre-contracts, but obviously, throughout the series, I read the comments and I appreciate all the comments and all the transfer suggestions you guys give me. I really do. A lot of you guys have been suggesting I get players on pre-contracts. Now, I have discussed it a couple times before. The reason why I've only picked up a couple players on pre-contracts, I think it's 3 in total, isn't it? We have Ben Foster, Joe Hart and Davy Prupper. The reason why I've neglected using that is because it just feels like it's a bit too easy to do that, and it's a bit too much of an exploit, which I'd rather not exploit, and make our team much better with basically spending no money whatsoever. So I appreciate all the pre-contract suggestions. There are a few players on there we've got Hamza Chowdhury, Lewis Dunk, a couple more as well, but I'm not sure I'll be getting anyone on pre-contracts this year. And if we are going to spend our money, we'll spend our money in this window and get the player for this season. Anyway, first game of today's episode as we look as though we pulled ourselves out of our mini slump, undefeated in our last 6 games, including the thrilling win against Newcastle United in the FA Cup 4th round in the last episode. Taking on Bournemouth here, the Cherries, Eddie Howe's side just above the relegation zone this season, not having a great campaign. Well, sometimes this season we've been quite unlucky with the goals we conceded, sometimes the goals have been my fault, but sometimes you just have to tip your hat to your opponent and say, fair play mate, that was fucking amazing. Haidara wins the ball back after Fagan's challenge, takes a couple of dribbles, and oh my goodness gracious me, are you right-footed Roberto Carlos in disguise? You see my action on the sidelines here. I was like, what? Are you serious? How is Dean meant to stop that? You could have 5 Dean Hendersons and a Paolo Gazzaniga in goal for that one. He's getting nowhere near it. What a goal by Haidara. I'd have to say the best AI goal we've seen throughout the course of this series so far. So Bournemouth 1, Sheffield United 0. An AI on ultimate goal, that one. Nothing we could do about that one. But for this goal here, there was something we could have done about that one. And that was the basics you're taught in football when you just start playing at 6 years old. What's one of the first things you learn in junior football? When in doubt, kick it out. How many times have I neglected that crucial bit of advice you're taught at such an early age? So many times I tried playing out from the back, so many times I get it wrong. There was another moment there, gave the ball away at Volley Shaw, surrendered possession right close to the edge of our area, and Bournemouth would double their lead heading into the break. So 2-0 down away on the south coast. We weren't playing that badly, but we were just making little errors here and there. You might notice through the highlights as well, there were like 50-50 challenges we just weren't winning, and sometimes we just weren't getting the luck. On the stroke of the hour mark, down by 2, the scoreline became Bournemouth 3, Sheffield United 0, and our blades out there, I mean, you might see in the background, the heads were dropping, the confidence was gone. We just weren't getting the luck at certain points in this game. And the second goal was definitely my error, no doubt about that. The third one, a wonder goal, but this goal summed the game up, really. Bora receives the ball just inside our penalty area, goes for goal, seemed to scuff the shot initially, but it ricochets off Ben Godfrey's shin, wrong foots Dean, and trickles in to the bottom corner. A big deflection sees Bournemouth extend their lead to 3. Dean possibly a little bit flat-footed for the goal. It's always harsh to criticise a goalkeeper for a deflected effort that goes in, but either way, possibly could have stopped that one Dean there. Didn't get anything on it, but it did take a big deflection. Bournemouth, though, 3 goals up, and the frustrating thing about the game was that we weren't even playing that badly. We were 3-0 down, yet we were doing okay out there. We were getting chances. Tony's shot there, well saved with a goalkeeper, then indeed he's headed for the follow-up corner going to wide the post, and there were 4 minutes to go. Alfredo Morelos really should have at least bagged a consolation goal for us, but headed Ollie Shaw's cross over the bar. So final whistle blows, it's Bournemouth 3, Sheffield United 0. I don't think the scoreline really told the full story as Eddie Howe's side celebrate, but it doesn't matter how you look at the statistics, doesn't matter what kind of highlights package I present for you. The fact of the matter is, it's a 3-0 scoreline, it's 3 points for the Cherries, and it's none on the board for the Blades. And our 6-game undefeated run in all competitions ends here on the south coast. So, in the press conference, as I say in the interview after the game, I had to just, relieve a bit of pressure on the boys, put the blame on myself, as I always have to do so. This is what a good manager has to do, not point fingers in the dressing room, and when publicly talking to the media, always put the blame on themselves. Exactly what I did here. I said the lads did their best, they tried really hard, but sadly, things just didn't go the way we needed it to. But again, doesn't matter what I say in the post-match interview, fact of the matter is this, 13 games to go, we're 14 points behind Spurs in 4th. And that right there is just a very damning incoming sign. We've already lost 9 times this season in our 25 games. And, you know, to be honest, that's more than 1 loss in every 3 games. And that right there is not going to get you into the Champions League. You know, there's still time. There's still time, 13 games to go. But that deficit between us and 4th place Spurs right now is so big. And I'm not sure we can make it up. 13 games to go. We'll give it our best effort, no doubt about that. But losing away to Bournemouth 3-0, one of our heaviest defeats of the season, I mean, that's just... It's not going to get you into the Champions League, is it? But anyway, it was time for transfer deadline day. After that loss there, 3-0 defeat, and on deadline day, I had no plans really to do anything major with our side. However, after we rejected a bid for Ben Godfrey, we did get a bid here for Ravel Morrison. Ajax, the Dutch side, put in a bid of £9.5 million for our English cam. Now, that's £1 million under his valuation. As we know, just a few weeks ago, in December, Ravel Morrison signed a contract extension for us and put an extra year on his deal. But to be honest, I'm not against selling Ravel Morrison. Morrison's that kind of player who, you know, some people really like him, some people don't like him. For me, he's a bit indifferent with me as well, to be honest. You know, some games he plays well for us, and in some games, he can go like weeks where he just goes completely missing and doesn't do anything for us whatsoever. In Europe this season, though, he has been one of our best players. He's got 4 assists and 3 goals in 6 games in the group stage. He's done really well and a crucial member of our team in Europe. However, it is worth pointing out that domestically, once again, for the 4th straight year, he's just not done anything, really. He scored a goal and got an assist in that 7-0 thrashing at Cambridge United. But other than that, he's not really done anything. And to be honest, as much as I love the way he's been playing in Europe, he's never going to get in ahead of Eze right now. 5 years older, 3 ratings lower, and you know, set to decline in rating anytime soon. So once Ajax said they'd meet 11.5 million for Morrison, I said, well, fair enough, you can have him. And as you'll see as the bid comes in here for Eze, Frank Lampard saw we'd put Morrison, we'd put Morrison in the shop window, and he said, yeah, I'll sell in cams. I was like, no, Frank, piss off, mate. Eze's going nowhere. But as for Morrison's sake, he does go. He leaves to the Johan Cruyff Arena and he joins Ajax for 11.5 million. We keep Eze and we sell Ravel. Farewell to Morrison, one of the season 1 OGs leaves. We saw Fleckley, we saw Norwood leave in the summer window. Now Morrison, another one of our season 1 midfielders, has gone. He's off to the to Amsterdam, to the Johan Cruyff Arena, and hopefully he does well there in his final few years. I feel like we sort of resurrected Morrison's career, really. We really helped him get back into professional football and start making a mark once again, but now it's time to say goodbye. And once again, I think it's a mutually beneficial sale there. The deal's over the valuation, and on his 40 grand a week wage, which I don't really think he justified personally, considering his very low return. I think that deal right there was good for both parties. Morrison will get more first team football in Amsterdam, and of course we'll get a decent amount of money for a player who here was never going to be first choice cam once again. So after the sale of Ravel, it was time to sign a replacement midfielder for our 29-year-old Englishman, and after the money came into our budget, we had around 19 to 20 million pounds to play with. Now, I really wanted David Brooks of Bournemouth to come in and replace him. We discussed him before. Of course, he came through the Sheffield United youth team to make his professional debut for Sheffield United before leaving to Bournemouth a couple of years ago, and since then he's done well at the Vitality Stadium. I'd love to bring David Brooks back, like we brought Kyle Walker back, and like we've also brought Dominic Calvert-Lewin back as well. How can I forget the top scorer of the season? Dominic Calvert-Lewin back as well. But unfortunately, Bournemouth and Eddie Howe wanted far too much for Brooksy boy, so we left him there on the South Coast, and he stays with Bournemouth, unfortunately, as I would have loved to have had him playing as our central midfielder in this team as part of a midfield quad. I think he would have been perfect. But there are a couple of other names on the shortlist who are a bit more realistic in terms of our budget, and those 2 names were David Turnbull of Motherwell, the 23-year-old Scot, and also Josh Brownhill of Bristol City. And I would have liked either of those players. Brownhill has that 98 stamina, which, you know, I absolutely love. But as for Turnbull's sake, he's the same overall as Brownhill, 78 rated, but 4 years younger than the lad playing in the Championship at Ashton Gate right now. And we're going to deal with Motherwell of £12.5 million plus George Baldock for the Scot. And as you'll see, one of the big benefits to David Turnbull is not the fact he's well rated at just 23 years old and therefore will have surely early to mid 80 potential, but this guy has got a 5-star weak foot. He's also got 88 stamina as well. His technicals are really good, and as you can see, his wages are incredibly low in Scotland right now. He's only on 7.8 grand a week. Of course, he was going to want a big wage increase to come here of around 20 grand a week extra, but 27 grand a week is lower than Morrison's deal by 13 grand grand a week, and of course he's 6 years younger and the same overall as well. So with Turnbull coming in to replace Morrison, I think that right there was a really good sale and sign. I think that's a fantastic deal right there. You see one of his key stats too, 83 long shots. We barely score long shots in this team because no one can really take them, but Turnbull could be a distance specialist, a sniper from range, so I'm looking forward to using him there. But his stats are really good though, high medium work rates, 3-star, 5-star, 88 stamina, physically so well balanced, quick, agile, good balance, and also strength as well, and technically too, very good passing, very good ball control, he can shoot from range as well. I think that's a really good signing right there, and Brownhill with the 88 stamina would have been good as well, but Turnbull in my opinion was the better option. So the Scot comes in to replace Ravel Morrison. Question is, does he slide into our first 11 and take Jamal Lewis's place as we look to possibly put the Northern Irish left back on the bench, or does he stay on the bench and do we gradually ease him in naturally? Not too sure. I love Lewis with a high work rate. He's done well since position changing from left back to centre mid, but I'm not too sure. Maybe Turnbull should probably be starting in this team as part of our midfield quad for a different option. But farewell to Morrison, farewell to Baldock. Two of our season 1 OGs have left. I can now finally stop talking about the fact that when I was younger, did you guys know? But yeah, Baldock's gone to Motherwell. Sadly, just never grew to the rating I was hoping he would have done in this team. Stayed at 71 overall after growing a couple of ratings. I said this before, man. Baldock deserves a way higher rating now. He's such a better player now. He should be, in my opinion, around 74, 75 overall to start with. But Baldock goes to Scotland. Farewell to George, and thank you for your service. And thank you to Ravel for his service as well. Both players, really important players throughout the course of this series. So deadline day ends there. I will be honest, guy, I totally messed up at this point, and I do apologise for it. Normally, on the final hour of deadline day, I'll go through all the clubs in the league and show you who did what in January. I wasn't concentrating at this point, and I do apologise for it. I pressed X straight away and got through the final hour, so I do apologise for that, guys. My mistake. But either way, it was still quite a successful deadline day for Sheffield United. Normally, I don't do too much business in January when the team's playing well, and right now we're not playing especially badly, but I thought this window we probably do need to make a few changes after what's been quite a rough December, and not the easiest of Januaries either. So I'm quite pleased with what we did, actually, to be honest. We sold David Pripple, we sold Ravel Morrison, we sold that youngster Ward. Hart is leaving on a free transfer next season to Norwich, and for the signings we made, David Turnbull, Oscar Anderson, Zlatan's regen, and also Kyle Walker coming back to Bramwell Lane as well. It was actually quite an eventful and surprisingly eventful January window. Lots of change at Bramwell Lane midway through the season. The question is, with just 13 games to go and 14 points to make up, will our new signings get us in to the Champions League? Well, that will end today's episode of Career Mode, guys. So big thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy today's episode, then please drop a like. Much love to you, and I'll see you for the next episode of Career Mode, a big one, very soon.